All right, welcome into Gridiron Icon this week, and this is a special week. We've got a lot in store here with a very special guest, but I am joined as usual by my better half and co-host, the iconic Preston Denard. Welcome in, and I'll tell you what, our guest this week, Preston, as a personal friend of yours, I'm very excited to deep dive with this person. Our guest this week is a former professional baseball player, as well as coach in the minor leagues, as a manager. And I want to say right from the outset, our first Major League Baseball player on Gridiron Icon. So we're going off script here, leaving the football field and getting on the diamond. But our guest played as a shortstop, and you will know who this is, folks, right from the word go, for the St. Louis Cardinals, eventually the San Diego Padres, and New York Mets from 1976 to 1991. We're going to deep dive on all of his accomplishments. He was inducted into the Padres Hall of Fame, the great and iconic Garry Templeton. Welcome in.
Oh, yeah.
We got a big audience here, Garry. Preston sees to that each week. Uh-oh.
He brought his glove.
Brought my glove to the game, baby. Garry, we're so happy to have you. It's a thrill, and, we're going to get right to it. We were just talking before the show. You got to explain to everybody how we met, because that also escapes me a little bit. I have to admit, people.
Well, you remember the other wide receiver, Moore.
Yes, Jeff Moore.
Jeff Moore. And Jeff had signed with Richie Bree, my agent.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and so Richie came into town and introduced me to Jeff, and I got to meet Jeff. And then he introduced me to you. And then I found out that you went to play football with my cousin, Earl.
Earl?
Templeton.
Oh my goodness.
Then we started talking and hitting it off. And
yes.
I called Earl, and you ended up talking to Earl on the phone because you guys was on the football team together.
Right.
And then Earl introduced me to Michael Cooper, and it was about 3 or 4 of you guys on that team that also had Richie Bree. I believe it was about 3 or 4 guys on that team.
Richie was, but I had somebody else. Earl, I'm not sure who all went with him, but yeah, I do recall that now because, my gosh.
And then you guys came over to my house for dinner.
Yep.
In Villa Park.
Yep. That's a long time ago.
Yeah.
Well, that is so good. I'm so glad you could help this old man remember, because I was beating my brain. We've done so many things together. You've done so much together. And I know when Stacy and I had realized you were going to be our special guest, oh man, the script is full. We got all kind of and I know Stacy's chomping at the bit, but I'll kick it off for him. And one of the things I wanted to do is sort of have you sort of reflect back when you were a youth, how ball actually started for you. Was it baseball in the beginning, which typically a lot of times it does? And then tell us how you got to the point of playing sports, period.
Well, I had always, played kind of like in elementary school, just with whatever the teacher had going on. And so one day, my father, we had just moved to California from Texas. And so we were driving around the neighborhood. My dad said, let's go see the neighborhood, blah, blah, this and that. And so we was driving and ran across a park. In the park, it was sign-up day. Little League sign up. And so my dad just looked at us and said, do you guys want to play baseball? And so me and my brother said yes. And so he signed us up, and we ended up playing, doing a tryout. Didn't have no gloves or nothing, had to go, my father had to go find us, buy us some gloves to play. And so that was the start of me playing sports. And I think I was 9 years old.
Wow. Did you love it right away? Did you know that was your sport?
Well, I didn't know that baseball was going to be my sport, even though I made the major league team and was starting at 9 years old. I was in
Wow.
made the major team, and I played on the same team as my brother, and he was 2 years older than me. And then from that from that particular time, then I ended up playing football. I started playing football, and then all the way up through high school, track and field and basketball, because I played 4 sports in high school, lettered in 4 sports.
Wow.
Wow, you're an athlete. Well, take us on that journey. How did you jump to the other sport? Did you just decide to, well, I'm going to try this. I'm pretty good at that sport. I'm going to try this, and I'm pretty good at that too. How'd you do that?
Back when I was coming up, in the 60s and 70s, the sports was broken up to where you could play each individual sport.
Yep.
I mean, it ain't like today where everything overlapped. Well, when football season was over, then basketball season started. When basketball season was over, then track and baseball. Well, track kind of started a little bit before baseball. So, you had the opportunity to play the sport. So I was pretty good all-around athlete. So, I tried my hand at all of the sports, and I ended up being pretty good. I mean, I ran a 9.5 and a 100-yard dash.
Oh,
Whoa.
And
ooh.
and in basketball, in my high school, I think I was like a triple-double guy. I didn't score like 30 points or nothing. I scored like, maybe 15 points and grabbed 10 rebounds because I high jumped 6'7".
Oh, my
Good
goodness.
grief, man.
We're talking to an athlete here.
Yeah,
Wow.
6'7", and ran 14 flat in the high hurdles, 120 high hurdles, and then I played baseball and ran track at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So I never practiced track. I just went out and ran because there was no time to practice. So I did that in high school. And football, I was a high school All-American for 2 years, DB.
Right.
And I'm still on I made the All Orange County football team.
Wow.
And so
Yeah. We're going to ask about that for sure.
Wow. So you actually could have, gosh, I guess you could have played any sport, really. How did it become defined for you as you got older or went through high school?
Well, my heart was really set on playing UCLA, playing at UCLA.
Wow.
I was a big UCLA fan, and Dick Vermeil at that time, I believe, was the head coach at UCLA.
Mm-hmm.
And so I signed a national letter of intent. And so pretty much he came to me my senior year. That was my junior year. My senior year, he came to me and he asked me if I would go to junior college for a year and then come in as a sophomore and play at UCLA because he didn't want me to come in and take the juniors and seniors jobs because he told me I was good enough to start. He told me I could come in and start as a sophomore. Well, I was a little ticked about it because I wanted to go to school 4 years.
Me too. I'd have been ticked.
I was like, God, man, I want 4 years. And he was like, oh, you'll start your sophomore year. And I was like, oh, man, I don't want to go. Because back then you could go to junior college 1 year and then go. And so I knew that I wasn't tall enough to be no basketball star or nothing in the NBA. So, that was kind of out. And then it just so happened that the baseball draft came up, and I got drafted 13th in the country, number 1 by the Cardinals. And so, my father said, well, not a lot of young kids get this opportunity, and so you get an opportunity to go and try to make the most of it, and that's what I did.
Wow.
Actually,
Amazing.
I went to those recruiting trips. I seen how big those football players was. I was like, oh, ain't like high school.
I love that. You could probably outrun him though with 9.5 speed. I'm guessing that's pretty good.
Yeah.
I gotta ask because I too knew about you and got to know you as we prepped to spend some time with you. And first time all county, I was a guy that was nowhere near as fast as Preston, so they found out I liked hitting people, so they stuck me at strong safety, outside linebacker. So I have a thing for DBs. You were a defensive back, correct? When you were playing high school football, and is that what you wanted to? I too wanted to go to the Bruins. They didn't even know I was alive. That's the difference. That's my favorite college team. But you were going to play defensive back. possibly for Dick Vermeil when you got drafted in 1974 to play baseball, like you were going to be a DB.
Right, right. I was going to be a DB. Well, he
Wow.
said that, with my speed, and they didn't know if they wanted me to play wide receiver or DB. So,
Wow.
because I also played wide receiver on offense,
Makes
because
sense.
we had a high school All-American running back. I don't know, Preston might remember this guy. His name was Myron White.
Yes, yes.
Myron White was the running back, and he was the top-rated running back in the country.
Yes.
My senior year, and he had signed to go to UCLA too. So so I played wide receiver.
Wow.
Yeah, we had
Wow.
we had a fantastic team, and a lot. I think God, we had I don't know about 8 guys signed Division I scholarships. Something
Wow.
like that.
Incredible. So,
Yep.
so you had to make a decision. Thank goodness for Dad. I'm going to go pro baseball versus sticking the football route. Did you have to break that news to UCLA? Like, yeah, I got drafted. I'm going into Major League Baseball.
No, I think they knew because back then everything was news. It was in the LA Times, the newspaper,
Yeah.
the draft and who got drafted, and so they knew. And I just told them that I was going to sign to play baseball.
Wow. And they took that okay. There wasn't a lot of begging and pleading with mom and dad. Huh?
It wasn't a lot. It wasn't a lot. They was mad,
Yeah.
but they took it because back then UCLA was pulling in so much talent. A lot of the Southern California talent.
Yeah.
They missed me.
Well, they went on to miss you because they went, look what he's doing over there.
Exactly.
Incredible. So I have to ask, I've learned that it came later in life and maybe this had an impact on going baseball over football, but your father, you learned, played in the Negro Leagues, actually knew Satchel Paige. I mean, this is legendary, iconic stuff for baseball history. How'd that impact you? You were still a teenager when you learned that, right?
Yeah, it was kind of weird because my dad used to always tell us stories about him playing in the Negro League. He wasn't no star; he was like a backup player, And he was telling us about all the stuff that he had seen, and he had played with Satch and all the guys and stuff, and I didn't think nothing of it. And then the biggest thing that happened is when I made it to the AAA with the St. Louis Cardinals, Satchel Paige was the assistant GM.
Oh, wow.
In Tulsa Oilers for the Tulsa Oilers. He was assistant GM. So, the first day I met him, he looks at me and he goes, "Boy, you look real familiar." he said, "You look like somebody I know." And I said, "Well, Dad said he played with you." And he goes, "Oh, that boy from Texas." He kind of remembered my dad. And that was more exciting to me that he actually remembered and said, "Oh, there's that little boy from Texas. You look just like your daddy."
Wow.
I thought that my dad played maybe 2 years or something like that. He didn't wasn't big, and then he went to work, and stuff like that. But then I had a chance to talk with Satch and sit down and listen to all the stories he had to go and that he went through with us and stuff. And it was a pretty good AAA team I was on. Leon Lee was on that team, Jerry Mumphrey, and Eddie Solomon, and because Leon Lee, you might know his son, Derek Lee.
Derek Lee.
Yeah,
Wow.
Derek played, with the Cubs for about 12, 13 years. And yeah, I held him when he was a baby.
That's wild.
And we was up there, and he used to get us together and tell us all the great stories and stuff. So, but that was fulfilling that he kind of remembered my dad. He just recognized that I looked like him, and which I did. I looked like my father.
Oh yeah, that is so cool. Talking about all the guys that he's played with. I've used to run another celebrity tournament in Albuquerque for years, and I've had 2 or 3 of the former Negro League players. And man, what a joy and what a commanding attention that they get. Everybody really respects the journey that those guys went on, whether they played a year or they had a whole career. is just something special. Like you, because you came out of school, you got drafted first round. But I'm just going to throw some names. I mean, I looked through this list. I went back and I said, who got drafted alongside him? But these are some serious all-stars. Lonnie Smith, Dale Murphy, Garry Templeton, Lance Parrish, Willie Wilson. Who else? Rick Sutcliffe.
Wow.
Of course, Ed Whitson. I know you know him well.
Yes.
Mark Clear, Mark Fidrich. Oh my God, these are all the guys that came out. Hubie Brooks, I didn't realize that. Paul Molitor. So there was some, and then Bump Wills. Bump Wills went to Arizona State, right?
Right. He went to Arizona State.
Okay, so I remember Bump from the days when I was following ASU, and then of course Reggie Jackson, all them. But out of all those guys, and I'm looking at that first round, and there's others that have been, but technically only one Hall of Famer in that group, Paul. I mean, what's going on with that?
Wow.
I don't know. There was some serious ball players that got drafted that year.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you, I don't know what happened. A lot of us got hurt. Like when I got traded to San Diego, I blew my knee out. And that was me, because when I got traded, I was still considered the fastest player in the National League. Willie Wilson was considered the fastest in the American League. And then I came to San Diego and blew my knee out and had like 7 surgeries after that.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Grief.
Yeah. It's unfortunate. That's the way the ball bounces. Came over here and tore my knee up. And I think Lonnie Smith ended up, he played really good for the Cardinals once he got his feet on the ground. Hubie Brooks played good. Sutcliffe and them was some, they were dominant pitchers, him and Mark Clear and Fidrich. I faced Fidrich. We became really good friends, because I competed against him in the minor leagues, and he always had a new pitch trying to get me out because I used to wear him out. So, he always, Gary, I got a new pitch for you. But it was some good talent there. May not made it to the Hall of Fame, but it was a ton of great talent.
Oh, man, that sounds like an all-star roster when you read that, Preston. What? Dale Murphy? I didn't even realize that. I don't want this to get lost in this conversation, but in your time in the minor leagues, before we get into your major league career, you literally became one of the best and remain one of the best switch hitters in the history of the game. How did you do that? Did you also, when you played football, were you, ambidextrous? Like what? How did you become a switch hitter that you're renowned for that now?
Actually, what had happened is we was winning a game when I was in high school. And so I asked the coach if I could hit left-handed. He said, yeah, go ahead. So I came up, hit a ball to shortstop, and beat it out. And when I got drafted, the Cardinals remembered that. And so the first day of practice in St. Petersburg, Florida, where the Cardinals were located, the minor league director told me I had to bat left-handed. And I was like, oh, my goodness. These guys going 95, 96 miles an hour. And I ain't never seen it from that side of the plate.
Yeah.
So what they did was I could just make contact on that side. I couldn't really drive the ball. And so every day they made me take batting practice left-handed. I had to get to the ballpark early and take batting practice. I hit so much that my hands just hurt, bleed. I had blisters on my hands and everything because they wanted me to be a switch hitter because of my speed, take advantage of the speed. From you're batting left-handed, you're a step closer to first base. So, they wanted me to do that, and that's what I did. I hit so much. I used to go show up to the ballpark, and I try to hide. They would come and find me.
That is amazing. You taught me something new. So just batting left, you've got a beeline to first base, and it gives you a step advantage if you're fast.
Yeah.
So that's what. Wow.
Yeah, and if you can run, that back in the day, they signed people that could run. If the Cardinal baseball team, we had a track team pretty much. Team Bakeman, I think, won the state in Missouri 9-2. I think he ran. You had Larry Herndon, I think, won the state in Tennessee, Memphis, or somewhere. He was a 9-4, 9-5 guy. Jerry Mumphrey came in second. in the state of Texas in the 100-yard dash. And then you had me.
Wow.
You had Tito Landrum won the New Mexico 100-yard dash.
Preston.
I forgot about that. Tito, yeah.
Yeah, they drafted speed, and they was teaching people how to play. So they, I was a great hitter from the right side, but they wanted me on the left. And the Cardinals was known for switch hitters with speed.
That's incredible. Well,
So
I mean,
they turned us all into switch hitters that hit the ball to shortstop and run like heck.
wow. And not to be overlooked by any stretch is the fact that you became the first player to get 100 hits from each side of the plate. That's bonkers.
That's huge.
I never knew that nobody had done it. And, actually, it was Joe Torre came up to me. And we were playing the Mets, and he said, Gary, ain't nobody never got 100 hits from both sides of the plate, a switch hitter. I was like, what? I thought maybe Pete Rose or some of the old-timers had done it. He says, no, nobody has done it. And I was like, I had 2 weeks left in the season to do it.
Wow.
And I've done it in, I think it was like 7-8 days, something like that.
That is unbelievable.
You mean
that
all of that in, are you saying 7 days or 8 days?
I had 100 hits, 111 on the left side. So I had to get, I think it was 10 hits or 11, 12 hits or something on the right side. And I did it in like 7 or 8 days.
Wow.
I batted right-handed.
what? You just did it to nail the record, and then you had a couple double headers in there. I think I'll throw him a bone. I'll go right-handed. What?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
I can't believe that. I listen, I learned Preston was a baseball guy. A lot of our guests come on and talk about how they honestly, at their heart level, wish they'd pursued baseball, but ended up being a great football player. So it's a lot of fun to get a baseball player on here.
And I had to prove it to him.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
you see that, my friend?
I see that.
Senior year in high school. 1973.
Yeah, you told me that you was a heck of a ball player, but you wanted to play football.
Well, here's the deal. See, and Stacy knows this story, so you're probably hearing the real, true essence of it. Real quick, senior year, scouts were sitting in the room. Padres were there, Angels and White Sox, I believe it was. And my dad always barbecues. He's a Southern boy from Georgia. And he stood up with all three of them in the living room. I had just come from practice, and he says, well, gentlemen, if you want my boy, you're going to have to wait 4 years because he's going to college. And that's how I got to New Mexico. They wanted to draft me out of high school in 74. Wasn't happening in my household. Dad sent me to college. And that's how football creeped back in because the university allowed me to play football. But I went on a baseball scholarship.
Oh, well, that's awesome. That's
Yeah.
I remember now, you did say you went on a baseball scholarship. That's right.
That was fun. It was fun. But certainly, I would have loved the journey you had. And I tell you what, watching you and all of that. But you know how we get into this game. There's all kind of stuff going on. People represent what they thought we said, what they think we said. That was huge for you because there's a big phrase that's out there. Nobody really knows how it came about. And you can repeat it as best as any one of us. But tell us about that. The misquote. Tell them the misquote.
But what? If I ain't starting, I ain't departing.
Yep, that's the one.
Well, basically what happened is we was playing and I was pissed off, and if I can say that, because
You can.
You said it.
I was having this great year, and they wasn't voting for me. They was voting for a shortstop that was hitting 260, voting me in to start. And I'm like, what kind of stuff is going on here? And then I realized later on there's a lot of politics involved. And so I had just had a Monsters game in St. Louis, so I was being interviewed by Jack Buck after the game.
Mm-hmm.
And so basically Jack Buck said, if you ain't starting, you ain't departing. I said, yes. And the next day it was headlines all over the country. Templeton says if he's not starting, he ain't departing. And all I said was yes.
That's how we default to it.
Yeah. And then down through the years, Jack Buck used to just come and look at me and say, he used to always say, that's a hell of a quote, wasn't it?
Oh.
Sure was. It stuck.
It stuck. It still sticks to the day because I still get people to come up to me and then they come up to me and say, if I ain't starting, I ain't departing. I'll be like, okay, no problem. No, it's water under the bridge now. So
Oh,
yeah.
That's lived in history, man. Yeah.
Jack Buck, he laughed about that for years and years. He was a good man, though. You know, Jack always had a lot of great sayings. So really good man, really good guy.
I think Joe Buck does a nice job. His son too. Really good job today. Yeah. So we like to always ask here. It's a lot of fan service, but let's face it, that's what we are. Your career, it's incredible. We want to break down some of the pieces as time allows. But was there any players that you faced that were the most challenging, or was your toughest opponent, whether it's a pitcher or as a shortstop, a hitter, or just anything like that? Who was somebody that was tough to deal with on game day, and then maybe somebody that was really impactful in a positive way?
Well, the guy that was in a positive way probably would have been Lou Brock. I mean, Lou Brock.
Wow.
When I came up, he took care of me, took me on his wing, and showed me a lot of things, taught me a lot about the game and, a lot of things to watch for and, just a lot of things in general. So, I took to him. I had the opportunity to play, I think it was 3.5 years with Lou. But there was probably two players that I was intimidated by when I first came up. And one of them was Dave Parker.
Oh.
Here was this big guy, could run, throw, hit. I mean, he did everything that you could ask for a man on a baseball field. And he was a big guy, and he could run like a deer. He was 5. And I was like, oh my God, look at this guy. And I mean, play defense. I mean, this guy was everything. I mean, Dave Parker he stood up at the plate, looked like a giant. Looked like Paul Bunyan at the plate, and then he would, fuss at people, but he was actually a gentle giant. But what a great athlete! And then as far as just the pure player that every time he came up to the plate, it just scared me was Dick Allen.
Dick Allen.
I never seen anybody hit the ball like Dick Allen did. I watched Dick Allen, and I seen him. To me, he's the greatest hitter I ever seen. I played with Tony Gwynn.
That's right.
And Tony Gwynn was a great hitter. But Dick Allen was a great, great hitter. I seen him in a 3-game series. Let me count. He drove in 6, 7. I think he drove in 15 runs in 3 days and didn't even play. Each game, he only played like 5 innings and left the ballpark.
Left the ballpark?
Yeah, the first game I seen him play, he was 3 for 3 with 6 RBIs, and then never the 6th inning game, 7th inning, he didn't come out. Where gone? The next day he showed up. He said, "Well, I drove in 6 runs. They should have been able to win with it." And he went back out there and drove in 5 more the next day and laughed. And I was like, and they were all rockets. Every time the ball hit his bat, it came off like a bullet.
Wow.
Rockets, and they was in the gap. I mean, he hit it to right field, left field, center field. I mean, it's all rockets, home runs off the wall. I was like, oh my God. and he did that. I seen him 6, 7, 12 games or something, 9, maybe it was 9 games. And every time was like that. I mean, just rockets. And they wasn't singles, they were doubles and home runs. And oh my God. It didn't matter where you threw it. Outside, inside, he just bang, bang, bang. It was just unreal watching him hit a baseball.
Wow.
And he did it with ease too. And it was like, it was just crazy. And then I remember Lou Brock saying, "You looking at one of the greatest hitters that's ever played this game." I was like, "Lou, how did we get him out?" They said, "I don't know. It should just walk him." Just walking, we got a better chance. Just walking.
You just go on to first base.
I mean, I've never seen anybody put on a show like him hitting a baseball. On the nose.
Incredible.
He didn't miss it. He didn't when he swung the bat. He didn't foul it off or nothing. He hit it.
Wow.
Yeah,
What?
Dick Allen. He put on the greatest show I ever seen. Hitting a baseball.
Oh, he was a good one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's Gary, what makes a great hitter? I mean, you hit from both sides of the plate. You're talking about great hitters. I could never play that game. I was terrible when I was a kid. What makes a great hitter? Are you born a great hitter? Is it hand-eye coordination, or is it work? Is it all the above? What?
Well, I've always firmly believed that you are born with the great hand-eye coordination, because to hit a baseball, you have to have good hand and eye coordination. And all great hitters, if you notice, they see the ball and they get their body in a good position, and then their hands come through the zone, boom, and you be like, wow, that was quick. You see how quick his hand, boom, came through. And all great hitters like that, like Barry Bonds. I mean, I know a lot of people talk bad about Barry, but I mean, Barry's probably one of the best hitters to ever play the game, because if you watched him, he's seen the ball and his body was always in position, and his hands would come through that zone, and that's the reason why he hit a home run. Because he had a quick, short swing, and it came straight to the point, bang. And a lot of guys can't do that. A lot of guys are not born with that ability. And a lot of guys work hard at it, and they have a little success, but for the most part, it's Preston to tell you, it's no different than football. Some guys were born with just good speed and great hands. They can see it and hit their hands, bang, and they catch it. And it's like baseball, because for you to play baseball the way you did, I guarantee you had good hand and eye coordination. That's why you were such a good wide receiver.
Yep, playing the outfield and same instincts, all of that.
Yeah, same instincts. You see the football, and catching it was probably easy for you. Just throw it, I'll catch it. Good hand and eye coordination. Most great hitters have that. Bad hitters don't have. They're usually off balance, and their hands don't work half the time, and they're going to hit. They're not going to be really good hitters off and on. Good hitters, they stay on balance. They see the ball, stay on balance, and make good swings all the time.
Well, one of the biggest challenges, and Stacey, thanks for letting me jump in here. One of the biggest challenges for athletes who desire to maybe take their expertise and their experience and try to teach others how to do it. Usually that's in the coaching ranks. You've had the wonderful opportunity to do that. In that transition, what was the toughest thing about the transition, going from being an athlete and going into the coaching ranks?
Well, for me, I didn't really have a big, it wasn't hard for me to transition. It was the hardest thing for me was just getting used to doing all of the paperwork, because I wasn't used to doing the paperwork, and then looking at and judging and sending in reports on players and stuff. That was the hardest part. If I had somebody else to do that for me, I would have been great, because you have more time to spend with the kids. So spending the time with the kids was the easiest thing, transitioning and showing them, because, you spend all the time, and, I was always the type that I wanted to know stuff. So when I had a day off, Dick Williams used to tell me to come sit by him and see what he would do during the course of a game. So I had a little bit of learning from, one of the greatest managers on situations and how he ran things. So I had a good handle on that. But for me, it was always the paperwork, and then when they came in with the analytic stuff where you had to judge everybody, you was more involved with paperwork than you was trying to work with players. Because they wanted all these reports and stuff on everybody. And it's like, man, when do I have time to spend with the players? Because I'm too busy on the computer trying to type up all these reports.
Wow.
Yeah, so that it's like you was a manager and a scout. That's basically, you can put it that way. You was managing and scouting at the same time, because you had to put in and they wanted these reports in at 10 o'clock. California time.
Oh, wow.
Every day. So, you was up half the night trying to put it in. And if you didn't get it in, you had to get up that morning and put in the reports. And then I had a little book where I had to keep notes during the course of the day when you're working a guy out, what you did by working him out, what was you working on. You had to go cover a lot of stuff, So,
Wow.
that kind of took away from, a lot of managing parts. And as you can see now, analytics take over where, analytics now, they go a lot on the analytics part because they're getting so much information. You're getting it from everywhere. You're getting it from the hitting coach, the pitching coach, everybody in the minor leagues. So they compile all this stuff, and now they, come up with numbers and say, oh, this is this and that. So, but the managing part was easy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I won at every level. I mean, I had good players, and we went out and had a good time. Just hated when the game was over with.
Well, that's true. Now, could you when you see a young athlete come through those doors, and maybe there's a group of them, can you pick out the one that's going to stay, or you still need to see them on the field?
Pretty much, you can kind of look at them and see which one carries themselves. Because the good players, as you know, Preston and Stacy, you can look at a good player and they carry themselves a head and shoulders above the other guys.
Yeah.
And you go, oh yeah, he got it. And then you go out and you go, oh yeah, I knew it. I knew he was gonna be. Yeah, you can see it.
Yeah.
And everybody sees it, And yeah, you can kind of pick it out. You see them as head and shoulders above the rest. Yeah.
Very interesting. Yeah, an eye for talent. What do you love about the game of baseball? And then what don't you could do without? You don't miss it.
You talk about now?
The analytics.
I just watch Moneyball. I just watched Moneyball, coincidentally, which I liked the movie, but it was so bizarre. Anyway, yeah, even now or even in the past, I know you have a love for the game. Preston has a love for baseball. What is it you miss about it and loved about it? Whereas, what's something you could just kick to the curb? You're over it.
I used to love the way we competed back then. I mean, guys was really vocal. I mean, I remember hitting out a triple and hitting it over a center fielder's head, and they were yelling at me from the outfield, "You'll never get another one. You'll never get another one. You'll never get on." And I'm yelling from third base, "Yeah, I'm looking at your number next time." And we competed like that. Pitchers would even yell at you and scream at you, "Don't you dig in. I'll knock you down." That part of the game is gone. Well,
I love it.
Let me put it this way. I liked the game when it had a lot of unwritten rules.
Okay.
A much tougher game, and guys were much tougher. Well, now they're like, "Oh, unwritten rules. Come on." I watch a game now. It's hard for me to watch because there's nothing that goes on in the game. You can't take out a second baseman or shortstop. You don't see that anymore. You can't take out the catcher. They don't pitch inside. You don't knock people down. I mean, it's just relaxation. Go up there and just relax. You're playing baseball. It's like there's no fear nowhere. And because I remember I hit Dave Parker in St. Louis, and he came in to break up a double play, and I hit him in the chest. Bang.
Ooh.
And he jumped up and he says, "I'm going to get you. Next time, I'm going to get you." Sure enough, we go into Pittsburgh. Second baseman didn't give me the ball in time enough, and he did a body block on me.
Ooh.
I did a flip, and nothing was said. You can't do that now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I see shortstop, second baseman stand right there at the bag and turn two. You can't. If you slide into them, they call you a dirty player.
Yeah.
Because today, I just feel that the game, they just make it so easy for them. It's an easy game to play now. Like I was talking, matter of fact, you mentioned Huey Brooks. I was with him this past weekend. And we was talking about, say, "Huey, how would you like to hit in this day and age?" He goes, "Shoot." He goes, I don't have to worry about knockdown pitches and guys brushing me back. and I ain't a fastball inside. He goes, "Oh Lord," he goes, "I have a field day." He said, "Because you have no fear. There was no
Yeah.
fear to play."
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That that's exactly what I asked Preston about going over the middle in today's NFL.
Yeah.
He'd
Oh,
be like,
God.
"Oh God, it's nothing. There's no Jack Tatum or George Atkinson back there." Like,
There you
I
go.
mean, it's insane how soft. I mean, I'm going to say it. I'm the bad guy here. It's both sports have gotten softer. I mean,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
soft. I understand the safety of the game, and they're looking out for it in both baseball and football. But I mean, it right now. Like if Preston said, if I was playing today, yeah, I'd go across the middle, catch 1,000 balls.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'd go up to the plate and not worry about getting knocked down. I had a great day against
Wild.
Jerry Royce. I tell people this story all the time. We went to Pittsburgh and I wore Jerry Rice out because Jerry Royce. I was a good right-hander. So we go back to Pittsburgh and he comes in the pitch. The first pitch of the game, he throws it right over the top of my head.
Oh.
And then he walks down to the pitcher's mound. He says, you ain't gonna have another good day on me.
I like it.
And that's the way the game was. You're not
I
having
love
another
it.
good day. Don't get comfortable at the plate. The first pitch of the game, he threw it right over the top of my head.
Ooh.
You do that in today's game, they're gonna throw you out. You're
Yeah.
out of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's really true.
I can imagine Bob Gibson pitching in this day.
Ooh.
He couldn't pitch. I mean,
He could pitch.
a lot of those old timers couldn't have pitched.
Louis Tiant, all of them. Yeah.
Oh, I
nice.
used to, Nolan Ryan, Randy Johnson, Roger Clemens. Those guys, they got after you guys, right?
Right. Got after you. Yeah, yeah. They wasn't afraid to knock you down. Don't get comfortable in that box.
Wow.
Love it. I love it.
That is such great insight.
You watch a baseball game now, and this is for me, and that's the reason why I say it's hard for me, because when I go there, all I see is strikeouts and pop-ups. No stolen bases, no hit and runs, no bunting a guy over, nobody out guys at first and second, and they can't even get a run in. To me, that's not baseball.
Interesting. It's
We
kind of
baseball. We bunted guys over. We hit and run. We stole bases. Analytics says, a lot of that stuff, you shouldn't do it. So they don't do it. You go to a game, you're lucky to see a stolen base.
Yeah.
What a great takeaway from our time with you. That gives me something to watch. It's sterilized. It's just not. Oh, that's incredible.
Well, what did they say last year? Major League Baseball was setting a record for the most strikeouts for the entire year, because analytics says strikeout is just like a regular out. So they don't care if you strike out.
Wow.
You strike out, you strike out. When I played, if you struck out, they were like, wait a minute now. You have to go back down to the minor leagues, and learn how to make more contact.
Wow.
Yeah, it is.
Dramatic shift.
Well, let me throw something at you guys, and you'll find something out. Trout is supposed to be what we go off of, now. But Trout. Okay. This guy strikes out close to 160, 170 times a year. Somewhere in there. When he won the MVP, I think he struck out 170 times.
Wow.
Yeah. I think the 2 years he won, somewhere in there. Now, when I played, if a guy struck out that many times, you got traded.
Ooh.
Really?
Traded. You couldn't. They didn't keep you. They didn't care what you hit, because you didn't make enough contact. And look at Bobby Bonds. I use him as an example. Not Barry, Bobby, the dad. He struck out over 100 times. He drove in. He hit 30 home runs, hit 300, steal 40 bases or 30 bases, and he did everything. And they would trade him the next year because he struck out 100 and some times.
Wow.
Now think about it. Now you strike out. Almost all these guys strike out over 100 times a year,
And getting new contracts.
and getting $20 million.
You gave me something to look at. That,
Your Stacy, I knew you was gonna say it. And people are afraid to look at these stats and go, "Wow, I'm paying this guy $30 million, but he strikes out over 100 and some times."
Wow.
that's crazy. I hadn't even thought about that.
Yeah.
So
That
it's hard
is-
to watch a game because it's nothing that excites me about the game, because if you don't see nothing in the game, you sit there and watch guys strike out and pop up or hit a home run,
Yeah.
The Houston Astros excite me because they hit the ball all over the place and they run, they steal a base, they do all kinds of stuff.
They sure do.
Yeah.
And a lot of the fans today, and anybody probably watching this as just a regular fan that just loves to hear about the careers, probably would have a tough time truly understanding the inner feelings about looking back on our careers and assessing it, the difference back then till today. I know a lot of people don't understand that, but what folks truly, I think you and I can attest to, and I think Stacy's come to know that over the guests over the last podcast, is that the experience and how you played the game relative to those around you are totally different than the guys that are playing the game that you're not around, because we see what we see. We see more attitude than play. We see more disruption than executing, running the play out, or whatever the sport might be. But I think a lot of folks are confused sometimes when we talk about, well, how's the game different? And you give it to them, but in order to truly know that, you have to see it from in front of that camera, so to speak, to really know the difference in the game. You played it. You can see the differences just like that, where a regular fan wouldn't be able to do that.
Agree.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. I mean, it's hard. It's hard. It's a lot of us old timers that played back in the day, and every last one of them, to a man, say it's hard to watch the game.
Very interesting.
It's hard to watch the game because it's just, it's no excitement. To me, there's no excitement in the game. And I'm not saying that the players are not good. The players are good, but there's just no excitement. There's nothing that goes on.
Yeah, there's not a lot. I mean, as a guy who's a bigger football than baseball fan, admittedly, with baseball, even I grew up on yourself, all the Dodgers. I was an LA guy, so I liked the Steve Garveys and the Ron Says and Ozzie Smith. I'm sure you know him. All of those guys. And there doesn't seem to be any of that in baseball anymore.
No.
The personalities, the Ricky Henderson stealing the bases, I don't see those stories anymore. I could be missing them, but it's one of the things, as a fan, that fascinates me. It's one of the things that drew me closer to Preston when we first started talking, was just, I will never have the perspective that professional athletes do. And I think that's what makes this podcast great. We want to hear from Garry Templeton. We want to hear from Preston Dart. What are we missing? What's different? Because we don't see it like you guys do.
Yeah, well, it's like Preston said, we see things a little differently than people because we played. And we were right there in the battles. So, and then to watch stuff now, it's just different. I know things change over the years, but I never thought that baseball would change to where it's soft. It's just.
Yeah, I hadn't heard that one before. And you're right. I can agree with you there.
Yeah,
Big takeaway for me. And entertainment is what our world's about now, right? It's entertainment or reality TV.
Well, what they say, I mean, if fans that are listening, if you're talking about soft, like, see, in this day and age, you would never, and when I played, you wouldn't see a guy hit 3 home runs. If he did, he was hitting from getting up, dusting himself off, because they're going to knock him down and let him know that, hey, look, you just ain't too comfortable. They might not hit him, but they would knock him down and let him know. And if he got up and hit home, they tip his hat to him. They go, okay, you're tough,
Yeah.
But in this day and age, you can hit 4 or 5 and they won't do nothing.
That is interesting. It's a respect thing. Let's call it what it is. There's respect in this, or a lack of.
Yeah. It was an unknown respect that you gave to guys. And like these guys now, they hit home runs and flip the bats and all over the place. You wouldn't do that when I played. Because when you come up to that next at bat, you got drilled. And you know why you got drilled. And you went to first base and shut your mouth, and you went to first base because you showed that pitcher up, and the players. So you did, hey, that's the way it was. Now these guys, they hit home runs, stand at the home plate and look at it, and then throw the bat in the air and take off running.
Right, and you know what? You don't even have to score these days. You can just get a catch 7 yards for a first down, and you're doing this.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's like, get your butt in the huddle.
So true.
So
true.
Gary, we are just being educated tonight, and we really appreciate it. Time is running on us. I know we could do this again, part 2. I don't know. I'm throwing it out there, Stace. So we got to get Gary back.
Absolutely. We just started this thing. Absolutely.
Oh, we sure did. Yeah. But before we get to a segment that we just love to do, it's called our 2-minute drill, and I think I did the last one, so I'm going to turn it over to my partner.
You're gonna let me? Oh, wow.
Well, I would. Hey, it's Gary. Come on.
I defer. I'll take it. I'm not gonna. Yeah.
But
okay.
Before we go there, I got to ask this opinionated question. One of my favorite ball players, and I come to meet him too in the game, was Rod Carew. Tell me your thoughts about that ability, that talent.
Oh, Rod was exceptional. I mean, he's a guy that he was just a pure hitter. I mean, and he used, I think, 3 or 4 different stances against, depending on who he faced. And, I got to grow and meet Rod and talk to him a lot. He was a great dude and such a great hitter. And a lot of people just don't give him the credit for the hitter that he was. I mean, he's a Hall of Famer, but here's a guy that could just flat out hit the ball. I mean, it didn't matter. He adjusted his stance to the pitcher and line drive. He could bunt with 2 strikes and like it was nothing. I mean, handle the bat, and you don't see players like that no more. He just just not around. They did what they had to do to put food on the table, and they wasn't paid as much money as these guys do. So, yeah.
Well, that's why the players like yourself were playing during those days. And Stace, I end my segment saying this: could you imagine a Garry Templeton and a Preston Denard on the same team?
I think that would be awesome.
We need to go back and talk to my dad then.
Yeah, we need to, both your dads, which, by the way, for part 2 with Gary down the road, I want to explore the impact of strong father figures. We don't do that enough. That'd be a great team. Both football and baseball. You guys are 2 sport guys. We could build a team on this, guys. Okay. All right. I will do the 2-minute drill. I thank you, Preston. I want to say Gary, but should I rather refer to you as Jump Steady?
That's a nickname.
We became aware of this. There's a story here, but I don't want to overstep. But Jump Steady, I hear you've got some moves, and
now I do remember one night like he had moves.
Come back for part 2, people. I love it. Okay. Well, 2-minute drill. This is fun stuff, Gary, and we usually close here. And this is just rapid fire. We're just trying to get to know you as the person and the man. And we're going to hit you with some questions. You just give us the first thing that comes to mind. Favorite stadium to play baseball in?
Dodger Stadium.
Oh, good choice. I grew up there. Okay. Enchiladas or tamales?
Enchiladas.
Okay. That's always a controversial one with guys from New Mexico, California. We gotta like mix that up. Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Okay. Favorite movie?
Oh, Lord.
This one always gets them.
I don't know. There's so many that I love. Can I just do a sitcom?
Sure. We'll take anything.
Sanford and Son.
Oh, Red Fox is a legend.
Yes, old school.
I'm with the right guys here. Okay. Most underrated teammate at any level?
Ed Whitson.
Ed Whitson. Okay. Okay. Interesting. Your greatest baseball achievement?
100 hits from each side.
Oh,
there you go.
That blows my mind. Who plays Garry Templeton in a movie about his life?
I don't know. Maybe Ty Diggs?
Oh, we got it. Oh, yeah. I can see it. Throw a little bit of that. Yeah, okay.
That is not a reach. That's a good choice.
That is a great choice.
It's always the good-looking dudes, you know? It's I love it. Well, that ends our 2-minute drill with Garry Templeton.
Wait, no, hold on. I want to throw one in there. Can I do that, partner? Okay. All right. Gary, you ready?
Yeah.
The truth comes out. Would you rather see curveball or slider?
Probably a slider.
Ooh.
Really?
Okay. Okay.
Curveball goes down, a slider's flat.
Flat. Yeah.
And if they miss with that slider, it go a long way.
Yes. That's what I wanted.
That was an awesome question.
That gets another one. That's a great answer.
I can't love this enough. Garry Templeton, thank you so much
Yes.
for joining Preston and I. It has been a privilege for this guy. I learned several things tonight I never thought of before. So I can't wait to let my brain ruminate on that. We want to have you back. I will lean on Preston to get you back in here, and we'll do this. But we want to thank you from the bottom
Yes.
of our hearts for our first Major League Baseball player.
Yes, yes. And he's going to be at our golf tournament later this
Right.
year.
Thanks for having me, and I'm looking forward to that golf tournament.
Oh, you'll be here.
Oh.
We'll have some fun.
Based on this interview, I'm guessing there'll be some trash talking and no one will be soft. It doesn't matter if it's golf or not. Well, thank you so much, Garry Templeton.
Yes.
Folks, here at Gridiron Icon, it has been a privilege to welcome in our first Major League Baseball player. And please do follow us. You can find us on all the usual spots, as well as YouTube, where you can see Garry looking much like Mr. Diggs in modern times. Follow us there, Twitter, all the usual spots. And Preston and I will see you next week. Thanks again, Garry.
Thank you, Gary.